Good morning and welcome back once again to Jack's Tech Corner with Photography Weekly. This is episode number 27. In this show, we're going to be talking, or coming up in this episode, we're going to be talking about light and how to capture it and also how to create it. A lot of these lessons are based around Photoshop Elements, so I'll also teach you how to create some interesting lighting effects today. Next, thanks to Vicky and sending me some videos and a lot of explanations there from a lot of you in the chat room, we are going to talk today about panning and the act of capturing a still picture with kind of a moving background. And I'm also, for an extra added bonus, I'm also going to show you how to create that effect without taking that type of picture. Now, naturally, taking the picture is easier, but I'm also going to show you how we can do that in Photoshop Elements. So there's another editing tip coming up. And then we're going to end up this particular episode here. We're going to wrap up with your questions and answers here on Photography Weekly. So let's get started with Photography Weekly, episode number 27. Okay, we're back up, and hey, I hope everybody liked that new intro there, the new opener. I'm still trying to come up with some other ideas for that, for the opener. But hopefully you enjoyed the opener, and we'll see how that goes here coming up here in the future. We'll see where we're at there with it. I do have to stop back here. I'm going to pause that there. Somehow I'm back there playing the video in the background of me there, and I don't like to play the show when I'm actually presenting it to you, just for the simple fact that it takes up a lot of my bandwidth here, and I don't have a whole lot to push out to you guys. So you know, I can't start this show. I wouldn't feel right starting this show if I didn't give just a few seconds for a tribute there to somebody that helps. Or somebody that helped, that was very iconic for allowing all of this to happen. And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Let me see if I can bring my laptop screen up here. Actually, and I hope I'm not pushing this too much on you. I'm sure you heard of the passing of Steve Jobs this past, I believe it was Wednesday. The day after the big announcement, right, for the iPhone 4S and a few other things that they announced. But this man, you know that I use all Apple products. We just talked about Jessica using the iPad. None of that would have been created if it wasn't for Steve Jobs and his great mind. So it's funny. I told my wife, it's funny that somebody passes away that was such a front man for the company and so entwined with the company, you felt like he was a friend of yours. And that shows. She says that shows because you've given him a lot of money. And that's true, because you can see in the studio, it's basically all Macs at this point. I run a PowerBook, a MacBook Pro laptop, the iMac desktop. We have iPads, and everybody in the house has iPod touches. So, and I carried an iPhone. So very iconic. Like I said, I don't want to go into it too much. But, you know, death for him came way too early. You know, you can't be, what was he, 58 or 56? Way too young for a brilliant mind. But okay, with that said, we are going to go ahead and move on here. And let me bring up this camera again. We are going to move on here. We're going to talk about lighting today and different lighting effects. And then I'm going to show you how to light different subjects and different ways of using flash and different types of flash. And I know we all use it. We all do it all the time. We all pop our flash up immediately. But we've seen last week show that you don't always need flash, because based on ISO and based on turn this down just a little bit here. It's killing me here. Based on ISO, and also, I can actually get rid of these too for right now. With the ISO and with the shutter speeds, we know that we can take our cameras and we can now control the amount of light coming into that lens. You can also control it even more by buying a lower f-stop lens. We're not really getting into lens this week, but I can tell you on my Nikon I picked up a lens. It's a 50 millimeter fixed 1.8 f-stop. Now what it means by fixed is I can't change the focal length. I can't change it like you can change this camera. It's very much locked down. But it's a very fast lens, so that's the positive side of that lens. That will also help you capture more light because it's such a very low f-stop, which means it has such a very wide opening of the camera. So let's go ahead now. We're going to talk about flash on these cameras and what they're good for and what they're not good for, and the things I see that's very, very funny. See if I can bring up a wider shot here. Okay. So what I see is very funny with these cameras, you can see here, this is a pretty long, wide shot back from the camera, is when people pop their flashes up, and you'll see this all the time. Watch football games or watch baseball games in the evening. You'll see this all the time where the flash is firing, and that flash is firing, and they're way up in the top of the stands. So what's happening? Well, you got a really nice bright shot of the gentleman's head in front of you, or you also could have a really nice shot, you know, of whatever, but it's going to fall off very quickly. This flash, that flash falls off very, very quickly. So you need something more powerful if you're going to be shooting, and you also need ways of remote triggering these flashes. Now the Nikon has a very nice setup. It's called a command system, where you can use your camera and you can use the pop-up flash as the command module, and then the off-camera flash will actually fire, and you can put that wherever you want to. So what does that give us? It gives us more possibilities of lighting, and it also gets the flash away from the camera. It doesn't have to be directly on the camera. Another thing you're going to find with the camera with the flash on here, and I'm sure many of you have seen it and you've worked on it over the years, is red eye. You start to get a lot of red eye because the flash is so close to the coming straight at the plane. Now these are better on the 35mm DSLRs because they pop up, so it's more over the plane, but the thing is you're still getting that flash shooting pretty much straight in. So what you need to buy is, you're going to need, if you have a hot shoe, here's your hot shoe right here, you're going to need to buy yourself a hot shoe flash. And this one, they still sell this, and now there's newer models than this one. This is the SB600 from my Nikon. And also, don't spend a lot of money on these things. What is that? You're right, it's a flash diffuser. It diffuses the light, and it makes the light blur out, right? Instead of shooting that straight light in there. These are nice because you don't have to shoot it straight into your subject's eyes. If you have a white ceiling, you can simply bounce the light and it shoots up to the ceiling, and it brightens up the whole entire object or person or subject that you're shooting. This, folks, on B&H Photo Video, these sell for, I think, $14. This one I got off of eBay, brand new. The gentleman has them for every camera, every flash you can think of. I think I might have bought it for $2. And it works just the same. It's perfect. It looks exactly the same, except it doesn't have the brand name stamped on it, so who cares? So that's with the flash. Now I'm going to show you in command mode how this flash works. Hopefully we can see if we can set this somewhere here. And let's see here. No. All right. Now, if you see right now, I think you can see that little flashing light there. Let me bring up this other camera here. If you can see that little flashing light, that's telling me that it's ready to receive the command from my camera. That's what that's telling me. You're going to try to set this on the desk. It comes with a little stand on the bottom. You can sit on a desk. Or it also has, let me bring this one up over here. It also has, right here, it has a little tripod mount. So you can actually put a tripod mount in there. And then you can take that and hook it to, just try and catch a chat room real quick. You can hook that to a tripod. That's what that's for. So I'm trying to see here where the best shot is to get this thing set up at. See if I can pull my printer over. Maybe we can get it set up here a little bit higher. There we go. So now we have that in the shot. And it's sitting there, it's on command mode. What you do now is take your camera. It's on. I go into my menu settings here. And on this particular one, it's under bracketing and flash. And I set it to command mode. Now I want to show you something here. If I have this flash open now, if you watch that flash over here, and you can hear that that flash actually went off. And unfortunately, I can also see that the batteries are a little low on it. There it goes. But what you also seen on that particular one there, what also happened was the flash on the camera itself went off. Again, you're getting that direct flash. I don't want that. So I started playing around with my particular camera with the Nikon, and I said, there has to be a way to shut that flash down, but trigger my remote flash. So there has to be a way to do that. And remember again, what makes this nice is you can move this flash anywhere you want. Within reason, within distance. Okay, you got to remember that. Alright. So if I go back into my settings, again, this is on my Nikon. And it's been on every Nikon that I've had. So ever since the D70, the original D70 had it. So if you have a Nikon, I'm sure you're shooting, you'll find this command mode. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut my built-in flash off. Okay, so the built-in flash is off. So now I can trigger that flash without this flash going off. Very important when you're using flash photography. Listen to that. And now we only had a flash going off over there. That's the way that would work. And yeah, the batteries are really dying there. Again, I'm going to look, but I'm going to hold my hand over this one to make sure that my flash is not going off. And it did go off there, so hold on. And one more. And there you go. So anyway, now we've seen the way the command mode works with the hot shoe flash off camera. So that's the way it runs. And like I said, flash is very important that way because then you can use your flash and put it anywhere you want. The last thing I wanted to tell you about, if you have to, now if you really have to use it, I'm going to try to show this to you. Well, there's two things I wanted to show you yet. If you really have to use the flash, if you don't have anything else, there's one thing you can buy commercially called a puffer. It's P-U-F-F-E-R. It's a puffer. And what it does, it hooks to the front of this hot shoe here. It just kind of sits in here. And it actually does the same thing as the diffuser does on the hot shoe flash. Or the off-camera flash. It does the same thing. It softens the light a little bit. I also found you could use a sheet of paper, though. Put a little piece of tape on there. And then, I just go back to my flash here. We're going to set this just to TTL. And then you can hold this on here. And what happens is it'll shoot the flash up. Now work with the angle of that paper a little bit. Usually an index card even works better. I like index cards better. But you can angle that any way you want and get that flash to shoot up away from their eyes. Okay. And you're also going to soften your light down a little bit because it's not directly into their eyes. It's more softened because you can shoot it up to the ceiling. The last thing I wanted to show you, particularly with flash, and this is something that I want to talk to you last week about. We didn't have a chance to discuss it. Was simply how to color our flashes, because flash will take on a coloring. And I noticed it in this room with these blue walls. When I flash against the wall, it would actually have a blue light or a blue tint over my picture because it picks up the color from wherever you're shooting. That's why I said pay particular attention when your guys are out, especially if you're shooting a wedding. Look at your surroundings. That's why I like to get there early. I like to look at my surroundings, look at the colors of the walls, because if we take this flash and we start flashing off the walls, and I doubt that you can see it here, it will pick up the color of those walls because it's such a powerful flash. Let me shut that off. So what I found was there's ways that you can set color of the flash. You know, you talk about colored gels and we talk about this great stuff you can buy commercially. But part of what I like to do is experiment with other things that's out there that's a lot cheaper. Now here's what I found. I actually went out with the wife last weekend. We started looking around, and I found these gift basket bags. I'm sure you've seen these before from gift stores, where they take a basket, they put a bunch of stuff in there, flowers. A lot of times you'll see these at like Bath and Body Works for women. They put a bunch of stuff and you buy it for your wife. But I just wanted the cellophane bags, is what these are. And you can get these in a variety of colors. I picked up a green, a blue, and luckily, recently, I've been playing with red. And what I use these for is to change the color of the flash. So you put it on here. And what you can get then is a nice red tint. Hopefully you can see that coming through that video. And these cost 99 cents. To get color gels for this, or to get color caps for this, you're looking at about 19 to 25 bucks a pop. Okay. You can also take your color gels. They also work very well. Let me shut this camera off there. Let's turn this back on. These flashes come with a built-in kind of a diffuser. I like to think of this more as a it tones the flash down a little bit. But if you put that on there, you can actually get a nice red flash. And you see now that's more of a red flash. And it holds itself right in there. Again, 99 cents a pack, which I got a bunch of sheets not laying around. You just cut them up. Doesn't hurt anything. Or, you know, you're going to go out and pay, you know, $19 to $25 for these colored caps. Doesn't make sense. That is that. Now, let me just do a quick run through there of the chat room, and then I'm going to show you how to design lighting effects. Now, we don't have this. A lot of people don't have these, right? I bought this because I do weddings. It's good to have a flash to do weddings and portraits and whatever else you want to do. But say we don't have that, and we're going to have to go ahead and design our lighting effects by ourselves. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to switch over to my screen here now, and we're going to show you how to create lighting effects. I'm saving that one. Bring this picture up. Okay, let me slide over here a little bit. Try to get comfortable, and we'll go into this now. All right. So now we have this up on your screen. I'm just took a minute there just to turn my head and look at the chat room here real quick. We are going to talk about lighting effects. So we have a picture here that we shot, and obviously I I may or may not have used a flash on this. I think I did, because if we look at the glasses here, we can see some reflections. So I probably did use some flash on that. So it's view, take it back to fit the screen. But what we're going to talk about now is, how do we create those lighting effects? How can we change this picture totally and make it look like we had an off-camera flash and we were shooting it across the room at the person or next to the person? I like to use a lot of flash that way also. It's very, very simply done. In Photoshop Elements, from version 5 maybe up, maybe 6 up at least, we had the ability to use a filter. So if you go into filter, and we go down here to render, and then we're going to use lighting effects. Right there's lighting effects. We're going to take this back out. Bring it back up a little bit. So right here we have our lighting effects. You see here you have the person or the subject posed on this rock, and you want to light that person up. But you didn't have a flash with you. You didn't have it, and you took this picture and you figured, you know what, post-processing, I'll take care of it. So all we have to do is, if we move this, right now it's set by default, the type of light we're using is a spotlight. You can move this to wherever you want to, and you can change the pattern of the light. As we move in on these, I'm just grabbing with my mouse on these outside ones. As we move in on these, you're making the light brighter, just like bringing a flash and bringing the flash into the person. If you move it out, you're making it less of an exposure, so a lower exposure. Let's go ahead and pull out on these outside and see what happens. Now we're making the light wider. We're making the light, and we're taking it and we're shooting it even wider. So there's a lot of stuff in post-processing that we can do that we can't even do with the flash. You know how many pictures you'd have to take just to do what we just did? You'd have to take a series of at least 10, maybe 12 pictures. Because we moved the light in, we pulled it back, we made it wider, we probably took the diffuser off, we made it wider. So it would take you a longer time to create these effects than just playing right here. Now with this, you can see how bright this is. You can take the intensity and we can lower the intensity down. Or you can bring the intensity up, and you're going to blow it out there, right? We're going to overexpose it if we do that. So I take it down a little bit. The focus, you can make it a wider area focus or a more narrow focus of where the light is shooting, where the light is focusing on. Some of the properties here you can play with is glossy, so you can make it either matte or shiny. Materialistic, you can make it either plastic or metallic. Exposure, we can underexpose it or overexpose it. And ambiance, you can either make it more negative or more positive. Down here we can play with some texture channeling, and we can do this with red and green. Make it flat. And you have all these other options there. So now that I showed you everything you can do with it, let's look and show you some stuff that's under the hood, I like to call it. Defaults are okay, but it's fun to go away from defaults. Omni lighting. Omni lighting is more of a straight-on type light. Again, you can make this wider. You can light up the whole scene. Of course, I don't know why you do that. You would just use your brightness settings, brightness and contrast. But if you just want to light up the person, you would use this omni lighting. And we have directional lighting. Try to get this in here. Again, if you pull it in, it gets brighter. If you pull it back, this is what I was just saying with my light on the camera here, or the off camera lighting. I'll show you that there. With this light here, what we would be doing to make that effect, I would probably crank this light down And if I had a tripod, fine. Sometimes I haven't. Sometimes I've had my wife, if we have the kids out somewhere, she'll be holding this light. Away from that scene a little bit. She'll be holding this light, and we can flash it across and get that kind of effect going over your subject. Okay. So that's those types of lighting. Here's some lighting that you can't afford to buy. Most of you maybe can, but I can't afford to put the kind of money into this lighting just to play with it. So what I like to do is play in Photoshop Elements. Click the pull down menu. Look at all this different types of lighting in here. Let's try to blow this up a little bit. There we go. You have 2 o'clock spotlight, blue omni, which makes like a light cast shadow over it, circle of light, crossings, crossing down, 5 lights down, flashlight. We didn't talk about that, but flashlight itself, if you use a flashlight, basically you're spotting somebody with a flashlight. You can also use the coloring techniques I showed you with the cellophane colored papers. Put that on your flashlight. I like to unscrew the cap and put a piece on and screw the cap on and make it a different color lens. And you get some really interesting shots. If you remember a few months back, we did that painting with light. It's kind of the same type of thing, but you can use a steady light and you would make a red apple even redder. And maybe I'll work on some of that this week and take some pictures and put them up on our Flickr site and our Facebook group site so you guys can see those. Floodlighting, parallel directional, RGB, red, green, blue lighting, soft direct lighting, soft spots, 3 down, and 3 spotlight. Let's pull out of here. We're going to look at this one. I like this one probably the best is 3 down. What this allows us to do, and I did some of this before for a wedding a while back, and the client actually fell in love with it. Probably more so than the money shots. The throwing of the bouquet, the throwing of the garter, the kissing, the first kiss. Those are your big money shots in weddings. But I played around with some of this lighting, and they said those are amazing, and they actually purchased those. So apparently my cat just came to visit, so you might hear him. And actually hold on there for 1 second again, because now I got the door to the little studio room up here actually open. Hold on. Interruptions. Okay. So 3 down spotting. This is what we can do with it. We can bring this light down a little bit, make it a little bit more powerful. You can spin it. You can bring it out. Then you click on the next dot to work with that dot. You can spin it. What it's going to do, it's going to act like a lighting coming down from the ceiling is what happens. You may have these. These are called track lightings in your house. Let's click on that one. Bring it down. You can even turn a little bit more and bring it across. We're going to go ahead and just simply click OK and see what that effect does on our picture itself. And there you have it. 3 down spotting. This is really a nice effect. It's really a nice way to spotlight somebody in your photograph or your subject. So it's a great way of doing things. Well, let me bring this up here since we're about 40 minutes into the show now anyway. Hey, what I wanted to ask you here, do you need a website? Have you been telling yourself, I need to get more of my pictures online, and I just don't know how to do it? If that's the case, then you need Weebly. That's Weebly. Weebly. Weebly is the fastest growing website hosting on the net. It's definitely one of the cheapest. You can sign up for a free account and have 2 websites under that free account, absolutely free. They're not going to charge you a nickel. Now, if you upgrade to the paid version, you're going to get even more features. Well, that's the way it always works, right? If you pay a little bit of money, then you'll get even more features. So real quickly here, I just want to explain to you what those actual features were. And see that our internet here is getting crushed for some reason. Let's see. Everything seems fine now. That's good. Okay. So if you're going to Weebly, you're going to look at 6 months here for $27.49 for 6 months. But you get all these other great features over here. Password protected web pages. Remove the custom Weebly footer. Okay, there's a little footer, and you look at my website, you'll see it. 10 sites per account instead of 2. 100 megabyte file uploads. Audio player. A video player, which is new. You can post videos to your website without using YouTube. You can embed documents. It's great if you're trying to share some of your works or some documents. $100 Google AdWords credit. So they're actually trying to give you some money back, and premium support. So there you have it. And if you get it even longer, it's going to be even cheaper. So if you go for 1 year, it's going to be $47.88 a year. And if you go 2 years, you get a 25% discount for $71.80. The trick is, folks, if you're going to do this, if you're going to play with Weebly, go to my website, jackstechcorner.com, and please use the graphics on the left-hand side. Just click on that and get started. Hey, you don't need to know any web coding at all. You don't need to know anything to get started with Weebly. You don't need program or HTML coding or Java. Just point, click, and drag things around, and you'll create a beautiful website for yourself. So there you go. That's Weebly. And go to my website, jackstechcorner.com. Click on the graphics on the left. With that said, there may be, and I told them not to do it downstairs. We have 3 teenagers, and they may be pulling some YouTube videos. That will definitely kill our bandwidth. What we're going to do now, see if I can go back to this here. We are going to start talking about panning. And what is panning and how's it used? Vicky brought this up to me last week, and she said, Jack, I want to know about panning. So I said, I will learn about it. And then she sent me a great video. So instead of creating a video for you guys, I'm going to show you this video to get us started. But then I'm going to show you how to do some panning in Photoshop Elements also. And we're going to design it, and we'll do some panning together. So let's go ahead and get started here with the video. And I'll be back with you as soon as it's over. Okay, so now we know what panning is. I'd like to thank Adorama TV for that video. Actually, I pulled that one down after Vicky sent it to me from YouTube, is where that video actually resides. So if you'd like to see it again and again and again, go out to YouTube and just search for Adorama. He has some good tips and tricks as well. So we like to send it out there to him for thanks. So now I said this is a part of the video or a part of the show that I wanted to show you that you can create this same effect in Photoshop Elements. It's not real hard to do. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of selection. And then it's going to be close. You know, everything we create in Elements is not an exact duplicate of what they're showing or exact duplicate in your camera. But it is going to be close to the actual way it should look. Before we do that, we are going to take a quick look at the chat room here. And I think it's Audrey. Is that right? Am I pronouncing that right? A-U-D-R-E-Y, Audrey. You've been looking at Weebly. I tell you what, it's a great way to build websites. So go ahead and pick up on that. Have a look at that. Kevin's right. The chat room's being very quiet today. Dan said in a some kind of a smiley face or a oh my face. See if anybody's new on here. Brian, you did check in there. Good morning to you. David B. See here. And user 4647. Thanks for checking in the chat room there. We always ask when you come in the chat room, just type a name in there. We can call you by name instead of that generic user 4647. But thank you anyway for coming by. That's the main thing, is stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed that video on panning. So now let's go ahead. We're going to turn to the laptop here and we're going to look at how do we create panning on a subject, and some of those same basic principles that he taught you in that video. I'm going to use those same principles as we outline it in Photoshop Elements. All right. I'm going to take the headphones off. Just to mention also, if you're new to the channel here, you can Skype me at Jack's Tech Corner. That's Jack's Tech Corner. I do have Skype open. It's waiting for your calls. Or I bought a Skype in number, so you can actually pick up your cell phone or your home phone and give us a call. Area code 724-701-0911. If you have any questions, we'll get you on the show here and be able to put you in here, and you will again hear your voice forever on YouTube. So there you go. Get rid of that. Okay, guys. So here we have a picture of a softball player. Actually, more or less getting ready to run, but we're going to imagine that she is running. The one thing he said you wanted to do was always make sure your subject is going from left to right. That's very, very important. Okay. Once you do that, the first thing we're going to have to do is make a selection. So let's go ahead and make our selection of the person that we want to keep in focus. Everybody knows I like the quick selection tool. We'll make this selection. And let's see here. So we want to take out some of this selection. If you ever learned anything from me, you know the one key element that I like to teach people is the effect is as good as the selection. If you can remember that, the effect is as good as the selection. The better the selection, the better the effect. Makes good sense. All right. Once you have everything selected that you want, I do want more of the top of her shoe here. Now we have to naturally add a blur to this. So if you go up under Filter, Blur, we have Motion Blur. And as you pull this blur out, anybody see there's one thing I didn't do? Anybody catch that? I didn't duplicate the background layer. Let's undo that first. I want to duplicate the whole thing. I'll just pull it down here real quick. All right. So now let's go back to Filter, Blur. As I said, Motion Blur. And as you pull this distance up, you're actually starting to blur the player. See how that player is getting blurred? So once we make our selection, what should we do? You're right. Cancel that. We should go to Select, Inverse. Or if you're really good, go ahead and select your background, and then your background will just be selected. Now let's do this again. Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. Now you can see we're filtering the background, or we're blurring the background. And we're going to make it here so it's a little obvious. What I'm going to show you here, it has to be fixed. So you're blurring the background, you're giving it some movement. You're giving it that blur you want. Now what I would suggest you do is change your angle. The angle of the approach of that blur. I found that 16 works pretty good. And you can play with different angles to see what works good for you. Because it's just enough to give it just that little bit of motion. Click OK. Now here's what I wanted to show you that makes it look unrealistic that you actually shot this picture. What happens is when you use the blur is you're taking, let's see if I can bring these cameras back around here. What happens when you're blurring something, you're taking the picture, this is your picture, and we're pulling the pixels. We're pulling them. We're stretching the pixels. Well, when you're stretching the pixels, you're actually even though you have that person selected, so they're selected, you're not pulling anything from them. You're still taking the pixel or the color of their clothing and you're pulling it. Okay, just as much as when we do green screen photography, the act of getting the green around the arms. You know, we get that little green shattering around the arms. They call it bleed over. It's the same kind of phenomenon because you're getting that blue or whatever color their clothing is and you're stretching it. So we have to fix that in the editor. So in the editor here, the way we're going to fix it is, let's go up to select and deselect. But now right here's what we're talking about. Look how it actually pulled the clothing and it made the blue look like they call it a ghost effect, I guess you could call that. We have to fix that. The best way I know to fix anything that's a problem and you want to match anything to it is what? Yeah, you're right. You answered it. All you folks out there answered it so quickly. It's called the clone stamp tool. That's what we're going to use. So let's go ahead and pick up the clone stamp tool. And everybody, you know, I've taught this many times. I know you know how to use the clone stamp tool, so we're not going to go into it too much. You hold your Alt key down, you pick up a sample over here somewhere, and then you just touch beside that. Sample it again. Just like so. And always sample, you know, when you're using the clone stamp tool, always sample closest to where you're fixing. So you match the colors as well as the lighting. And you would just go clear around the body and take care of that. You want to take care of all this stuff that pulled out from the clothing is how you want to fix that. You can see that what I did was I just pulled some of this up there and made it look unrealistic. Slide down here a little bit. Look around up here. You see now you got that motion going behind. You might want to take care of the helmet up there. This fencing, you might want to bring that fence in. Make sure that's the same. You got to watch because some of this back here is actually the people behind the subject. Let's do a view and we'll fit it to screen. And now you see we took care of all them issues right around here. Click on my tool here. We took care of all these issues around the legs and cleaned all that up there and made it look a lot more professional, or looked at least more believable that we actually took that shot. That is how we come up with that. So once again, everybody, thanks for joining me this Sunday morning on Jack's Tech Corner for this episode number 27 of Photography Weekly. It was fun playing with light with you, showing you some flash stuff and, you know, creating light. Remember, creating it is really the fun part of photography. I have a lot of people say, if I don't shoot it, I don't show it. Yeah, but people weren't there. So sometimes if you shoot it, you may show it in a whole new way. And adding some light can make fun, make more exciting pictures. Also, panning. You know, get those cameras out there and do some panning shots. I tried, and as Jessica has been saying in the chat room here, I've tried. And I asked my daughter, go get the bike out, and I get the rolling eyes. So, and everybody knows that my main guy that I like to take pictures of for portraits is my gnome. And the gnome doesn't run, and he doesn't ride bikes. So the panning had to be a video. I'm sorry about that, but you get the idea now on how to pan. And again, thanks to Adorama for that. Great guys over there. And remember, you can always come back and edit in Photoshop Elements or Photoshop if you feel so inclined to edit that background and make it look like the panning effect that you want. So with that, I'll see you back here next Sunday on another episode of Photography Weekly. And as always, grab that camera, keep those shutters clicking, keep all the editors editing, and you too will have some great pictures to talk to some people about. I'll see you next week here on Jack's Tech Corner. So long for now.